Hey everyone, good morning and welcome to Morning Tea with me, Tracy V. Allen, host of Morning Tea. Morning Tea is a show that hopes to motivate, inspire, and educate you into uplifting or leveling up your life, your business, or your career. And this morning I have a guest with me. Her name is Lourna Charles, and Lourna is a therapist, and we're going to be talking about how to get your inner peace. And that's why that's called today's topic is called inner peace, because we're going to be talking about how to have inner peace, because if we're not good on the inside, then what we're going to be projecting out is going to be bad energy, and we don't want to do that. We don't want bad energy for ourselves, and we don't want to put that out there for other people either. So Lourna,
No.
go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Good morning, everyone. Well, my name is Lourna Charles. I am a licensed therapist. I am a mother. I am a wife. I am a daughter. I'm the eldest of four children. I have two boys, and I am very new to entrepreneurship. So my latest hat is the CEO and founder of Gracely Counseling Services in the East Stroudsburg area.
Awesome, awesome. So tell us about who Lourna was before she became the therapist, the relationship therapist, because I know you talk a lot about relationship. So what did you
Yes.
do before? Like we were talking in the background and you said you were from Haiti. So tell us about your transition coming from Haiti, coming to the United States, and why you chose therapy.
Okay. So I immigrated to the US at a very young age. My father was the first one to be here, and he sent for my mother and I and my younger brother. We came here, we settled in Brooklyn, New York. We were there for several years. And life there was different, coming from having large backyards and coming to this little tiny apartment with so many people, it was just overwhelming for me. I think
Yeah.
mentally, I was not, I wasn't aware of the mental health field at that point. But
Mhm.
looking back at my experience then, I think I was really depressed.
Oh, wow.
It was just very confined, very
Yes.
confined.
Yes.
And being, an immigrant and the daughter of immigrants, they were
Mhm.
very strict. I can recall having a conversation with my father when I first moved here. And he said, Lourna, in very stern, very, very stern voice, Lourna, I bring you here not to have friends, just focus on your books. And it was just like, oh my God. So here I am. I'm already uncomfortable and I'm not really acclimating to my new environment. And I'm being told I can only have books as friends. So it was just like so confining to me. But
Mhm.
that was life. And being, Haitian and having, Haitian parents, we have something called l'école, l'église, la caille, which basically translates to school,
Mhm.
church, and home.
Oh,
That was
wow.
my life.
Oh,
School,
wow.
church, and home. I lived in a building and I didn't really see, my neighbors because my father did not allow it. It was, go
Really?
to the library. No, go to the
Wow.
library, get some books. And that was my friend,
Oh my
and
goodness.
honestly though, I'm not upset. At that point, it was just very new to me. And as a kid, you want to play, you don't
Mhm.
want to in books all the time.
Right.
But looking back, I developed my vocabulary skills by reading so much books. And
Mhm.
I developed such an imagination,
Yes.
and a love for words,
Mhm.
so I'm not upset now. It was good for me. But then I didn't like that very much. It was just not the best. And looking back also, Tracy, I have always been a therapist. I think some things you're born with, and I
Yeah.
believe the ability to help people process and help
Mhm.
people navigate through their challenges is a gift that God gave me.
Yeah.
Because even as a kid, I can remember all my little friends, from church coming to me, Lourna, with their problems. Lourna, my parents this, my parents that, or I'm mad at this girl, here's what she did to me. And I
Mhm.
would just sit there listening and advise them. So
Mhm.
I've always been a therapist at heart. It's just, as I progress and develop, throughout my years, I
Mhm.
acquire education, to officially perform and practice as a therapist.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you
So
graduated from high school,
it was
go ahead.
it was not an easy transition, from, my native land, to
Right.
America. But
Yeah.
I found my way. And because I have such a strong spiritual background as well. There were many hours, many days, in prayer, and that attitude and that culture served me well.
Okay. Yeah. Faith is always a good thing to have. But so you
Yeah.
graduated from high school, probably at the top of your class because you and your books were friends. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing that my father put me in a private school. Oh my God, which
oh,
further
really? Okay. He
confined
was
me.
very
And
he was very focused on education and making sure that you had the
very, very focused on education, very, very focused on education. But the more he pushed it on me, the more, I think I disliked it. But the books I enjoy reading, not the genre so much that he would like for me to read, but he didn't care what I read. As long as I was reading, he was okay. Yes.
okay. All right. So when you graduated from high school, what happened next? So did you go straight into college? Did you know you were going into college to study therapy? Tell us about that.
Listen, in my household, going to college was not an option. I knew once I graduated high school that
Uh-huh.
that was my, you know.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I'm the first in my family to go to college. My
Okay.
father didn't go to college, and but he knew the importance of education. He
Mhm.
came here, as a laborer really, and has to worked very hard. And he
Uh-huh.
did not want me and my siblings, to have that life.
Right.
So I understood very early on that education was going to be the path that I was going to take.
Right.
One, because I lived, under my father's roof, and there was no alternative. It
Right.
was you're done with high school, you're going to college. So
Right.
yeah, I did my first year of college in New York, at New York Tech, and my parents at that point moved to Pennsylvania. So they left me for a year to complete my first year of college. And
Mhm.
once I was done with that, I transitioned to Pennsylvania and joined them, and attended a 2-year college.
Okay.
Because at that point my father wanted me to become a nurse. Now I didn't
Mhm.
want to be a nurse, Tracy. Anyone who knows me knows that I am not a nurse.
Mhm.
But I think the island mentality is, you're either
Doctor,
a nurse
lawyer,
or
nurse.
a doctor or a lawyer. That was just not my calling, and I knew it.
Uh-huh.
But because my father had such a heavy hand, and I knew that I had to at least attempt. And I did. I went to a 2-year school, and I majored in nursing. I entered the program, and I was at the point of clinicals, and
Uh-huh.
I hated the experience. I hated the experience. I think for me, when I knew I couldn't do it anymore was first, I was not doing very well because I didn't like it. So I
Okay.
wasn't doing well in the program. And
Mhm.
for my nursing home rotation, listen, everyone, has certain areas they're strong at. For me, I knew that was not my path. I
Mhm.
had a very bad experience in my nursing home rotation, and
Mhm.
I knew I could not do that.
Okay.
I could not do that, so that didn't work out for me. And in therapy, even though I've been a therapist my entire life, just by gift, right?
Mhm.
I didn't know what that was. And that's me being honest. I didn't know. I mean, you see therapists on TV, but I
Mhm.
didn't know what it was to be a therapist. And to
Mhm.
be honest with you, after nursing didn't work out for me, I was like, God, I'm in my room really crying. I was at a very depressive state
Mhm.
because my island parents are expecting, this doctor, nurse, person. I'm neither. I'm not a doctor and I'm not a nurse. But
Right.
I knew that I wanted to have a career.
Uh-huh.
So I ended up, I prayed a lot. I fasted and I prayed. I was like, what is my path? And a friend of mine, advised me to apply to Kutztown University. And, I went there just to visit the campus. And I
Mhm.
was just wandering the hall. And I landed, in the psychology department.
Mhm.
And from that department I gained an interest because what it comes so easily to me as far as theory and just helping relationship is not something that I really had to learn. It's
Mhm.
very entrenched in who I am,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
And I completed my 4-year degree at
Mhm.
Kutztown University, and I worked for a year or two. And I just worked at, just hustled, just really hustled. I had two full-time jobs at one point,
Yeah.
and I worked and saved and worked and saved and worked and saved. And I
Mhm.
like to look cute, so of course, I had my little, my little fashion money as well, But yeah, and that was that. I think for everyone in life, you hit a point in life where you had a crossroad and you have to make a decision.
Yeah.
So after I graduated my college and I went, 2 years, just really working, working, working. I knew, I wanted to go to grad school, but I didn't really know how I would pay, how I
Mhm.
would get there, right?
Right.
And, well, I got pregnant. I got pregnant. And that changed everything for me.
Mhm.
And keep in mind, my parents are very religious, very
Right.
religious. I don't
Yeah.
have the benefit of marriage.
What was
And
it?
my mom is
School,
at that
school, home, church.
school, church, home, school,
Right.
church, home. Yes, So I'm in a very religious household,
Mhm.
the benefit of marriage. And here I am pregnant. My
Right.
mother is the head deaconess in the church,
Oh,
and my
wow.
father is the head deacon.
Okay.
Yes. So that was such a traumatic experience.
Uh-huh.
Very, very traumatic experience. Imagine being in a community but feeling so alone, so
Yeah.
isolated. Because there's expectations.
Right.
There's expectation. And as the deacon, the head deacon, and the head deaconess's daughter, that was not the expectation for me at
No.
all.
No.
So you're hearing, everyone is like talking, you're hearing, they're talking about you, but not to you,
To you.
you
Yes.
know? And
Yes.
it was just, those 9 months were just very, very depressing for me. And I want to say, even though I was a Christian my entire life, being born in the church, I discovered God for myself in those 9 months.
Oh, wow.
To be at a place where now, I mean, I was this big shot, at least I thought, fashionista, college grad, and just living the life, and at that point traveling and just really saving. I had a very nice savings account, and now here I am, shunned, almost shunned from my family,
Mhm.
because that's not what they envisioned for me.
Right.
And my friends, I was so embarrassed. So I kind of cut ties with a lot of them, just purely out of shame, because that was not the path that I had for myself and that my family had for me.
Right.
And on that bed, really, and I slept a lot. When you're pregnant, you sleep a lot. So on that bed, on that bed, I remember saying to God, just really asking for forgiveness.
Mhm.
God, please forgive me. I know I've let you down. This was not the path that you wanted for me. So please forgive me. If you redeem me from this situation, I will do better.
Mhm.
You know. Now, mind you, I'm very, very, very depressed, to the point where I had very negative thought patterns. And the only reason I can say that I didn't act on the negative thoughts that I had is because of my mother's love. I knew if I took myself out, ooh, I don't want to get emotional. I knew if I took myself out, my mother wouldn't live. I don't start crying. My
No.
mother wouldn't, and I could not do that to her. I
Right.
could not do that to her. So it really pushed me into just more prayer, and just more, asking for forgiveness.
Mhm.
And God is such a good God. I know it's not a religious show. That's fine,
That's
but that's
fine.
my testimony.
Yeah.
God is such a good God. When you reach a place, where you understand that, He is God, and that you need Him in your life, and that He is the reason that you can be this, big shot person. He meets you where you are. He
Mhm.
meets you where you are, and He brings you to where He wants you to be.
Yeah.
So I had a very good friend at the time. Even though I was very depressed, I still went to work. I had a kid coming. I still went to work, and I can recall my friend saying, "Lourna, just apply for the college, for the master's program." And I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a newborn. I don't have childcare. How is that gonna happen?" She was like, "Lourna," I'm like, "I'm just too right now. I'm not in the headspace to
Mhm.
really do that." She said, "I'll help you." So she helped me navigate, the application process to get into my master's program, right?
Mhm.
And I remember the day of my interview, And keep in mind, because I was in college, undergrad, I had two jobs. So my grades were not very promising, right?
Mhm.
So I'm applying to this grad program knowing that I don't have the grades
Mhm.
really to meet criteria for the
Right.
program. I
Mhm.
can remember, I drove to the interview and I got to the parking lot and I sat in my car just really crying. Oh my God, I don't want to be disappointed. This is really, all my eggs is really in this basket. I
Mhm.
don't have plan B. This is what it is to me. And
Right.
I can recall saying, my friend who invited me to the program, that one of the professors, was from her country. So she had a connection. She knew, she could get in because he would put in a good word for her. And I'm like, Lord, I don't have a connection.
Right.
Tracy, just as clear as you and I are speaking right now, I heard a voice audibly tell me, I'm your connection. Just
Mhm.
as clear as you and I are speaking.
Mhm.
I'd never had that experience ever in my life before. So it was almost like startling, like just very calming. I'm your connection. And
Mhm.
I just, gathered myself and went to the interview. The man, the head of the department who interviewed me, he was like, Lourna, your grades, are not suitable for the program. The only reason why you and I are having this discussion
Mhm.
is because of your essay.
Mhm.
Now, my essay was about, life not working out how I had anticipated.
Mhm.
Getting pregnant without the benefit of marriage and
Mhm.
having to live in this very religious atmosphere and really having to sit in my discomfort, right?
Mhm.
And here I was thinking the worst thing that could happen to me is that I got pregnant and my entire community really pretty much shunned me. But the very thing could have destroyed me. The very thing, Tracy, that I thought could have destroyed me was the very reason why I was accepted into grad school.
Yes.
So every time I tell this story, it brings me back to a place of gratitude.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we are sometimes made to believe that our kids are less than the precious gifts that they are because of what our parents believe or our friends or society that we live in. But kids are always a blessing, you know?
Yeah. And my,
They're
my
always
son,
a
my
blessing.
oldest, I have two boys, and I love them both so dearly. But
Mhm.
my oldest, because it was just him and I, in that bed, ashamed for 9 months, I talked to him so much. We have such a bond,
Yeah.
you know?
I know
Yeah.
what you mean. I kind of went through a similar situation, so I get it. Um,
Yeah.
I get it. So you went to grad
Yeah.
school and you did social work or clinical
Yeah, I
psych?
got my master's in social work.
Right.
And I worked after I graduated. I had all these big dreams of working for the VA and having all these big positions. And
Mhm.
somehow, over time, it didn't feel right anymore. It didn't feel right anymore. Make a long story
After
short, I got
change.
married.
Yeah.
Yes, things changed. I got married. Now I have, two boys, and that life of being in the VA just did not fit, what I saw for myself anymore. But I did still work in the corporate world. I took some time out, to have my second son and did the whole mommy thing. My husband at that point worked in New York, so he's commuting from New York to PA, from New York to PA, and it
Wow.
was just very stressful. It was
Wow.
just very, very stressful because he'd come home and he's exhausted. But
Right.
we have two kids, we have two kids that,
Yeah.
we have to take care of. But it worked out. It worked out. After I got tired of being a mommy, I'm always a mommy, don't get me wrong. I'm always a mommy, but I'm a career girl.
Yeah.
I'm a career girl. And I love working and feeling accomplished in that way, right? So I returned to the workforce and I was hired by a very, I guess, well-known agency around here in the Mount Pocono area.
Mhm.
I worked there for 5 years. Let me
Mhm.
tell you a funny story. So I was so grateful being, home and being a full-time mommy for 3 years. I was a bit rusty in my skill set. So when
Mhm.
I got that job, I was like, yes, Lord, thank you. Thank you so much for this job. And I was just so grateful. And I worked there. The first 2 years, I had this such enthusiasm. Like, I can do this, I'm helping people. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But because I'm called to do greater things, after that 2 year, the excitement completely was wavering, right? And I
I used
said,
to
oh,
call it the 2 year itch. I had the same issue. Every time I went to a job after 2 years, I'm like, okay, what's
yeah,
next?
what next? What
You
next?
know? Yeah. So I
Yeah.
started calling it the 2 year itch.
The 2 year, I had it too, Tracy. I had it too. Yes. And I go into work, and the worst part about that is I had an office with no window.
Oh
So
no.
imagine being I worked
You had a
4 days.
cell, not an
Oh,
office.
it was. Let me tell you, you don't understand what that did to my psyche.
I can.
Being,
Especially
oh,
being claustrophobic. I couldn't be in that office.
yes,
Nope.
yes, me too. Yes. So I'm in this office, no window. And because I work 10-hour shifts, I would go in the morning, there's no sun. I'm
And
leaving, the sun is gone.
yeah,
So I would get no sun
yeah.
most of the week. And
That causes depression.
depression did set in. Depression did set in. And I just like I even lost, my creativity. I'm a very creative person. And I love just to
I'm so
create.
happy you're saying that. Remember what we said before you started this interview? I said, for some reason, the people who come on my show have similar cross stories for me or things I can relate to. Exactly what
Right.
you're talking about. I can so relate to it because
Oh,
I have the same
great.
issue.
But imagine being in that environment
Yeah,
and just having the energy just being sucked out of you. You're
like an
not able to
vampire.
create. Exactly. So now I'm in a job, even though I love helping people,
Mhm.
I'm so unhappy.
Yes.
I was so unhappy. And it's so like most days, like I just like drag through my day. I'm a
Mhm.
therapist providing therapeutic services, needing therapy myself because of just my environment.
Yeah.
It just was not working. But
Mhm.
because I'm a working girl, my husband, though he could take care of the household on his own, I didn't want to leave him with that burden. I'm a partner. He's not my father, he's my partner. So I want to come into this partnership, providing, support for the household.
Right.
So I stuck it out, for 5 years. But the last 2 years, to be honest with you, what got me through it was really just prayer and just daily devotion. Daily devotion. I can recall, and the other piece of it is in that job, we had such turnover rates. Like therapists would come and leave. We had a joke. We called it the mass exodus because
Oh,
people would just come and leave, like 5, 6 people at a time, and it
wow.
was just like, oh my gosh. So I'm having to reintroduce myself to new people
On a
every couple of
consistent
months.
basis.
I
Yeah.
was just like, I'm tired. I
Yeah.
don't want to meet
Yeah.
you. I don't want to. I don't want to talk to you because I know you're leaving too. I'm just tired. It was too much. And
Mhm.
the other piece was to be at a job, and I thought even though I didn't have much to give because of my mental state, I gave all that I had, and
Right.
I was the highest producer. I
Mhm.
was the highest producer, just cranking up that money, the highest producer for the organization at that time. And I remember there was a position that came up as a lead clinician. And I was like, oh, okay. Now, mind you, the duties of a lead clinician, I didn't necessarily want. I didn't want them. But when I was informed that the position came up and I was not considered for it, I was hurt.
Right.
Because at that point, I'm
Sometimes you
the
don't want something, but you at least want to be acknowledged that you're qualified and a good fit.
exactly,
You want to be able
exactly,
to say know yourself instead of someone else determining that you're not
exactly.
fit. Yes, I get
Exactly,
it.
exactly. So I went to, it was a new manager. We had just had a mass exodus.
Mhm.
So it was new management. So I went to her and I said to her, I knew this came up, but no one approached me about it. What's going on? She was like, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. I was told that you weren't interested. Even if you were told that I was not interested, right? It
Right.
didn't come from me. It
Yeah.
didn't come me. So I said, well, I mean, we didn't have this conversation. I would have liked to have been considered at least.
Right.
And she goes, well, okay, we can do that. We can add you to the list. Now, mind you, I knew she was grooming this one therapist who
Mm-hmm.
was fresh out of college for the
Mm-hmm.
position.
Right.
And I was just like, oh, okay. So I said to her, so what are the requirements? And she, listed the requirements. I was like, oh, okay. And then so I said to her, well, I know I'm the highest producer, right now for the organization. What does that mean, for this position? Because to have this position, you get to split your caseload in half. So you have to give up half your caseload.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the highest producer, right? And that's only by God's grace. I'm the highest producer.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, to be honest with you, Lourna, yeah, we would have to take into consideration that you are the highest producer. So I knew I was not getting that job. I knew
And
I was
that's
not
an
getting that job.
unfortunate situation, though, because I find that even when I was working, if you're too good at your job, right, at the level that
Mhm.
you're at, they don't want to put you at a higher level because now who's going to take over the what you're doing at the level that you're at? So I mean,
There you
I
go.
know,
There you
especially
go.
if you're like me and I'm an overachiever, and I, like obviously you are because you have the highest caseload. Um, they're like, oh wait, if we move her from this position and she has 200 cases, we're gonna need to hire 3 people to replace this one person.
Hmm.
Not that
Exactly.
they're thinking that you could do better at a higher level. They're looking at the bottom line at that level. So,
Exactly. And because it's an agency setting, I get it. But I
mhm,
tell you, after I left her office that day, I felt a piece of me
yeah,
just, die.
mhm,
And slowly I was dying more and more
yeah,
because I knew I was never going to progress in that agency.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was
And
that
it
your point
did
in
something.
leadership?
Exactly. So um I resigned. Okay, before I resigned, so the year before I resigned, I was in constant prayer because I'm a God girl, so I don't do anything really without prayer. Since discovering God for myself, I don't really approach anything in life without praying.
Mhm,
So I just felt so. The year before I left, I just felt so unachieved, so underachieved. I'm
mhm,
at a job. I'm not gonna go any higher than where I am,
mhm,
right? And I'm not getting paid. I feel like I'm underpaid. So
mhm,
I'm overworked and underpaid. I can remember saying to my God, is this it? Is this it? Is this what you created me for?
mhm.
And I'm like, you had my mother, carry me for 9 months only for this? Like, this cannot be it. And it was that cry, that internal cry was becoming louder and louder and louder. Like this cannot be it. I cannot do this anymore. So
Mhm,
I at that point, began to draw my plan as to what I was going to do next. I
mhm.
didn't know exactly, what that would look like. I knew that I liked therapy and I wanted to continue in some capacity, providing that kind of service. But I didn't
Right.
know what else? Like I'm very creative, and I love event planning. I plan a very mean party, Tracy. I plan a very I can do a very mean, very beautiful, party. So I thought, okay, so I can, have 2 businesses. I'll have, an event planning business, and I'll have, part time. I'll do, therapy. But my main goal at that point was to have the event planning be my main source of income, and
Mhm.
the therapy to be something I do on the side, just to serve, in that way, and also to keep my skills sharp,
Right.
right? So I prayed about it, and I was clearly, I felt God telling me to move on.
Mhm.
The week I turned in my resignation letter, I was so happy. I was so happy. I can remember typing, the words, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm in a month, I'm gonna be free.
Right.
And I did that letter, and I smiled through the halls. I was a whole new person because at that point I felt free,
Right.
right? So I left the job December 31st of 2019,
Mhm.
and I embarked on my journey of entrepreneurship. Although I didn't begin my event planning business yet, I started. I had my I guess, grand opening for the therapy business on March 1st.
Mhm.
And March 8th or 9, Corona, Corona happened.
Happened. Oh
So
wow.
here I am, here I am, spent all this money, got an office, furnishings, all that stuff, all that good stuff. I had not yet built up my caseload, and here comes Rona. I'm like, oh great, oh great. What
Mhm.
do I do now?
Mhm.
So I have to admit, the road to entrepreneurship has not been easy for me.
Right.
Not at all. It took me a couple months to really find my footing
Mhm.
because Corona happened. I didn't yet have a caseload.
Mhm.
So I had to transition to the online platform. And that was very unfamiliar to me. So
Right.
that took a bit. That took a bit. But now things are great. Things
Okay.
are great.
You can find,
Things are great.
and I like that story because it shows that you can find success in a crisis.
Mhm,
And you are
mhm.
really positioned in this crisis to help people who are going through different um, stressors in their life currently, because this is
Right.
not something that anybody was equipped to deal with on their own, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah,
So let's
exactly.
talk about the therapy aspect of it. So I know
Okay.
you do a lot of relationship type therapy, and you
Right.
talk about a few points about conflict resolution in your relationships. You have a
Mhm.
set of point system and how to basically advocate for yourself during a relationship. So let's talk about those points.
Exactly. So although I see everyone on the mental health spectrum, I specialize, in relationship issues and family issues. And the reason why I chose that is, well, first of all, it's near and dear to my heart.
Mhm.
I'm not just talking things at my clients, at people. These are things I've lived. These are positions I've placed myself in. And over time, I've learned, how to navigate, and now I'm sharing my knowledge.
All
A
right.
lot of people, Casey, they go into relationships, and it's like they're go-getters. It's in every other area of their lives, like they go and they go and they go, and they're very successful.
Yeah.
And they go into relationships, and it's just like, okay, honey, whatever you want.
They
And
act,
you're just like, who are you?
yeah, they
This
start
very
acting
hostile, right? Like,
the same.
who are you? Apply the same energy you do to your career to your romantic life.
Mhm.
And people wonder, why is it that things are not working out romantically? Well, because you're not really asserting yourself.
Right.
You're not asserting yourself. Ask for what you want. Don't be afraid to say to your partner, babe, this is what I want. This is where I see us. And then say to them, where do you see us? Make
Mhm.
it a dialogue. Don't just, say, oh, I see us, here in, let's say, a couple years. Um, and that's it.
Mhm.
Ask, for their perspective. Where do you see us? Where do you see us, in 5 years, let's say? You get to know a lot about people, based on how they respond to those questions. That
Right.
can tell you if he sees you in his future. That
Mhm.
can tell you if she sees you in her future.
I like
It's very
that.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Asking about the 5-year plan. If your name doesn't come up, you're probably not gonna be
No,
around
you're
for
not.
5 years.
No, you're not. And that will tell you how to proceed, you
Yeah,
know?
I,
Yes.
and I think a lot of people are currently in need of couples therapy now more than ever because they're only really now beginning to learn who their spouses are or their significant others.
Exactly.
Because on a regular
Exactly.
basis, you don't spend that much time with the people who you're in a relationship with. Like you said, your
Let me
husband
tell
worked
you this.
in New York, you lived in Philadelphia. So you probably were only seeing him on the weekends, and on the weekends there was honey to-do lists to be done. So your
Exactly.
time was
Exactly.
very, very minimal with him. So having
Right.
now being thrown into the corona and being quarantined, and you're with this person in a closed space for all day.
Long hours, long
Yeah,
hours. This,
it's a new
this pandemic, this
relationship.
pandemic has exposed a lot of relationships. And I think it's a good thing.
Uh-huh.
You can't be living with a stranger for 30 years.
I know.
And then once the kids go to college, it's like, who are you?
Who are you? Yes. Yes.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I think if couples, are smart, they will see this as an opportunity to grow because you're in a position where you can't really go anywhere. The outlets you had of going to spend time with your boys or going out, for lunch or dinner with your friends, you can't go no more. So
Right.
you're having to look this person in the face and really figure out, do I even like you? Do I even
Right.
like you?
True.
You
It's a
know?
true statement. Yeah. Do I even like you? And I've heard some people say, I realize I don't like my husband or I don't like my wife. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
this is not the person I want to spend the rest of my life with because I've
But
not
you're married.
know
If
them.
you're married, though, you already commit. If you're married, you're already committed. So what I would say to these individuals is, okay, you discover some things about your spouse that you don't like. Now it's time to not a discussion, but to have discussions.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go after this is all over? Because now I know you in a way that I didn't know you before. I can't unknow I can't unknow these things about you. So how do we proceed? And
Right.
it's not a done deal. It really is not a deal breaker because you're already married. What you
Mhm.
can do is really sit down and really reintroduce yourselves to each other.
Right.
Get to know each other all over again. And hopefully you like that person that you're getting to know.
Well, that's
And
a
you
whole
can
mindset that you have to go into, first of all, to even want to work things out. Some people are just like, I don't want to work it out. This is just not for me anymore. So I've heard that, but I do agree with you that yes, therapy, and that's why I said at the beginning, therapy is a necessary tool to try to
Mhm.
work it out. To me, you shouldn't give up on something that you pledged to stay into until death do you part. But
Right.
you also have a 7 non-negotiables. What are those 7 non-negotiables? Because I really need
Listen, I get very excited about that. I don't have, I don't really identify the 7 non-negotiables, but
Mhm.
I do tell clients to at least have a list of 5 things because it's different for everyone. What
Right,
I value may not be what you value, but
right.
I do tell people before you go into any relationship, if
Mhm,
your plan is to pursue, the life of couplehood, right?
mhm,
You just can't go into it blindly.
mhm.
It doesn't make sense. As thinking and intelligent human beings, we don't go into things blindly because
Right,
we know that we have to have a plan. If you make plan, to go out and you have a GPS, you follow the GPS to get you from point A to point B. Why should you approach your romantic life any differently? So I tell people before you go into relationship, come up with a list of 7 things. And it's not just anything frivolous, anything superficial. 7 things that are attached to your core values that your partner or she must have in order for you to enter that partnership. And it's
give me
different for everyone. An example, you can't force someone or make someone be compassionate, right? You
okay.
can't force someone or make someone be empathetic. These
Mhm.
are things that are character related,
Right.
right? Imagine you get into this relationship and for you the characteristics that you're asking for, you yourself possess, right?
Right.
You yourself possess. So you meet this person and you're like, oh my goodness, he's a wonderful guy or she's a wonderful girl, and you have all these rosy feelings and you see, the things through rose colored glasses and you enter the partnership and you realize, oh my God, he is hot, but oh my gosh, he's so selfish.
Yes.
Oh wow, she is beautiful, but oh my goodness, she is very, very lazy.
Mhm.
You don't want to have those incidences. So it's best to go before you listen. Relationship should be an interview. Before you enter it, you need to interview your partner. You
Right.
need to interview whomever you're thinking about being in this relationship with. Ask
I
them, what are your goals?
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly because I do have a few people I know who entered into relationships. They didn't have those discussions, those 7 things, or whatever things they are, 7, 2,
Mhm.
or whatever. And I think one of the biggest deal breakers in their relationship was that one person wanted kids and the other person did not. And they
These
never
are
had
things you
that
should know.
discussion, never had the discussion prior to getting married. And then,
These are things you should know. Things you should know. Right.
yeah,
These are deal breakers. These are things are non-negotiables. If
yeah.
I don't desire kids and you do,
Mhm.
we
That's
we
big.
just can't. It
That
can't work,
that's huge. Yeah,
right?
that is
Right.
definite. huge. So leave our audience with three things, either three things that you've learned in your life, or you can mix it up. Three things that you have that you want them to stop and think about that can possibly change someone's mindset, either about a life lesson, therapy, or entrepreneurship journey.
Okay. Number one, you never know how strong you are until being strong is really your only option.
Yes.
For me, a situation that could have ended me, I thought, could have ended my journey as a career person, turned out to be the very situation that put me on the path that I'm here and I could be speaking with you.
Right.
So really dig into yourself. Never discount yourself or count yourself out, right? Continue to strive. And the other piece is peace. If you're in a situation and you don't have peace about it, don't stay. Don't stay. Because over time it only gets worse. And also being kind to yourself, forgiving yourself. We always think about I have to forgive this person. I think the most difficult thing to really do is to forgive oneself. So learn to forgive yourself, learn to be kind to yourself, and it'll be easier to be kind and be forgiving towards others. Yep, that's my three.
I like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you're right. A lot of times we don't forgive ourselves. We forgive everybody else, but we forget that we need to forgive ourselves too. And
exactly.
sometimes those are the hang-ups that we take from one relationship. And I'm not just talking romantic relationship, just relationships in general. And we take it from
Right,
one relationship to the next. So
right.
um,
Yeah.
thank you for being my guest today. If you
Thank
want to
you
get in
so much.
contact with Lourna, you can do so by going to Grace Li at lournacharles.com. Again, that's Grace Li at Lourna. That Lourna is spelled Lourna Charles.com. Get in contact with her. If you're going through a rough time right now and you need some relationship therapy, reach out to her. Just don't give up on your relationships. Fight for it if it's worth fighting for. Lourna, thank you again for being my guest today. Your story was very inspirational. I know it's going to
Thank
touch
you.
someone's life. It's going to make them see. I know there's someone right now who's pregnant and family is shunning them at this moment that's going to see this and they're going to be like, okay, all right, it's not as bad as I think it is right this minute. So thank you for
There
sharing
is
that.
light. There is light at the end of the
Yes,
tunnel.
there is
Yes.
light at the end of the tunnel. All right. Until next time, guys, thank you for joining me for morning tea, and I will see you on the other side.
Bye.